of Delhi and rated highest grading A by Joint Session Committee of Government of NCT of Delhi and GGSIP University. Gibbs has been rated grade A by Academic Audit Cell of GGSIPU consecutively from the past 6 years. Also, Gibbs has been rated number 2 by Times B School Survey 2021. So, as for today's topic for today's workshop, we have impact of social media on criminal law. And for today's program, we are honored to have with us as resource person Justice Rajiv Bhalla. Justice Rajiv Bhalla is a former judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court. At present, he is an advocate in the Supreme Court of India. He commenced his practice as an advocate in the Punjab and Haryana High Court in 1978. He was elevated as a judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court on 9 January 2004. Justice Rajiv Bhalla is also a chairman of the Punjab Educational Tribunal and the Appellate Tribunal RERA Punjab up to March 2019. He is the Dean of the Department of Law, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. Sir delivers lectures on various topics and subjects at different colleges, universities, for academics, and in seminars, etc. Sir, I, on behalf of Center for Legal Studies, Gibbs, heartily welcome you to this program. And now I would like to request you to take this program forward.
Good afternoon. I hope my image is stable because I can't see a very stable image.
No, sir, your image is perfectly fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I thank Mr. Jindal, Vice Chairman, Mr. Yadav, the Head of Department, Center of Legal Studies, students of LLB 6th semester, Dr. Tripti and Mrs. Gandhi for giving me this opportunity to address. I hope I've got their names right, and if I've got them wrong, I'll apologize. And you can get me right later on. You can. On this Juris Day, the topic is as much controversial as it is important. It's important not just for courts, but it's important also for students, for ordinary people, as we are all consumers of social media. And not only are we consumers, in my opinion, we are also hostages of social media. I use the word hostages because most of us now form our views not from the books that are behind me, but from social media. Our teachers now are social media. Last year when we had Teachers' Day, so I'd put up a little tweet also saying that probably in another 15 years, kids will be saying Happy Byju's Day, because now Byju's is the new teacher. And no longer will we say Happy Mr. Yadav Day or Happy Mr. So-and-so. Please, you taught me something. So we are in that age where even our learning now comes from social media or from these apps or from these platforms. So how can we say that it's good, bad, or indifferent? Social media today is a babble of noises, good, bad, and indifferent. And these noises increase and decrease depending upon, not upon the truth of the matter or the lies of the matter, but depending upon the agenda, the person who's putting up the tweets or who's on the television discussion is trying to project. So today, like I am also a hostage of social media. And though you may say that at your age, you should stay away from this poisonous media, but I am myself a hostage of social media. And moment I get up, I open my telephone. And today, moment I got up, the first thing I saw on my Twitter handle was these words were written there: if this doesn't shake you, then what will? And you're probably all aware of what I'm trying to say now. I opened the thread and this is what I found. A horrendous story of a girl abducted and raped, her hair cut, beaten, face blackened, paraded through the locality with a garland of shoes in her neck. What had she done? to invite such humiliation and physical torture. The thread further unraveled that she had refused the advances of a boy who then unfortunately committed suicide. You may have all seen this story later breaking today, even on television channels. I think so. Because I don't watch any of the television channels, and that's an honest admission. I don't watch one of them. And the family members of the boy abducted the girl. Till now, these are the facts I have. But I think there's something more to be added to that story, which is still going on. Now, whether they'll be convicted or they'll be sentenced or not, that is where now the debate will begin. And some of you will convict them, some of you will acquit them, and some of you will even go to the extent of giving them the death sentence. And some of you will also disregard the evidence or material, everything, and forget that however so heinous the crime, eventually it is the court which has to pronounce judgment. The danger we are going through because of social media is this, this sudden desire to be the judge, the executioner, and also the hangman. So social media today can be defined in these three words. And by social media, I'm including our television channels. Another, now this is the positive side of social media, that this incident came out. Otherwise, it may not have even come out. And to a large extent, social media also tends to uncover this horrible, horrendous underbelly of our society, our social setup, which, because the poor do not make good news till they are burned, killed, or dragged through the streets. So though that doesn't become news, it's only social media which puts it up. So there is a good part to social media also. Social media is not all wrong. I'll remind you, I don't know, the youngsters would not know it, about a case about maybe 10 or even more years ago. It happened in a school in Delhi where suddenly one television channel, a very famous channel today, began breaking news about a teacher in a school and about her lifestyle, about her life, etc. You may remember it. I don't know how many of you remember it. It was on the verge of almost that she was indulging in all sorts of activities which were not supposed to be indulged in by a teacher. And there were huge allegations against her. Parents descended on the school. There were demonstrations which were being covered by that channel. Slowly, they got covered by other channels also. The woman was not allowed to come out of the school. The school was forced to sack her. And eventually what happened? Guess what always happens? It was found it was a case of mistaken identity. The anchor who had some, let me not say the whole thing, because the anchor went unpunished and even today spews venom on television against everybody. So this is the negative side of media. And that lady, poor lady, I don't know, I think she got a job back eventually. But look at what her family, her children must have gone through. Look at what the school must have gone through, going through all this. So this is the power of social media, both positive and negative. Another incident, if you may all remember, is the Jessica Lal case, which but for media or social media, we may not have got a conviction also, because there was no evidence. In fact, the accused was acquitted, and it is only the Delhi High Court which intervened. And right or wrong, they were convicted. But if you remember, and you may all have seen the movie also, which is actually a highly exaggerated account of the incident, but it was a case where there was a point blank shot. It was only because witnesses turned hostile that the identity of the main accused came into doubt. And then somebody introduced the theory of two bullets. This was done by a prosecutor. So all these things, and why was it done? Because it was receiving immense media coverage. So even the people who were witnesses got scared. That's another, sorry, we are not going to depose. So they just said we could not It was difficult to identify. There were so many people in the bar. It was difficult to identify who fired the shot. Now, this is the difficulty, which is overt, and sometimes it scares away even genuine witnesses. You are all sitting here as students, and next year you will be in courts. That's when you realize how difficult it is for courts facing all these innuendos, all these stories which come up. As a former judge, but I can assure you as a former judge that we do not decide on what the media says. And I can assure you in my own this thing and lots of others, what the media says is what it suits its TRPs for that day. The media is not there to tell you the truth. The social media also, everybody has, like I said, everybody has an agenda. And therefore, please, a small request to you, do not gauge a judgment or even a proceedings by what is your perception, which you have made from something you may have heard on television, something you may have read on your Twitter handle, something you may have read on Facebook, or any of the social media handles that go around, because everybody has some point of view, and right or wrong is never the point. The point is always, eventually it is the court which decides it. And how does a court decide? You're all in the Department of Law. A court does not decide on perceptions. A court does not decide on inference. It decides on the evidence before it. And who brings the evidence? With due respect, not the journalist who was arguing last evening, not the anchor who was screaming one day before. It's the police who brings it. So what police brings before me as a judge is what I will pronounce upon. And merely because I have pronounced a particular judgment based on the evidence does not mean that now even I have to be attacked. This is also what is happening. Even judges are attacked that you did not see this. But when somebody quietly goes and opens a file and he says, this was not there, this evidence was not there, this material was not there, but who bothers? The damage is done. The accused is, even if acquitted in the court of public opinion, he is for life a rapist, a murderer, a cheat. Now look at the latest case we had, the great case of one person who committed suicide. And I think you all must have heard those great debates that were going on media. Some even there were demonstrations, and someone even went and contested an election on that great suicide. And I don't know whether they were elected or not, but this is what happened. And now what's happened? Where are all those cases? Did any of you bother to even ask that question from those anchors and for those people who put forward all that on social media? That where are those cases? What has happened to those accused? Have they been acquitted, convicted, charged or not? So that is another part of it. You have to leave it to the courts to do it. And in fact, I remember one channel even linked it to an international drug cartel. So that is the extent to which they will go. They have a point of view to project and to do it. So this is what is happening. And when they are questioned, they hide behind something called alternative facts, which was made famous by a former president of the United States of America. Alternative facts or fake news. So you have a right to have your point of view, but you also have an obligation to be right. You don't have an obligation to be false. You can be incorrect. There's a thin line between being incorrect and putting up a false story on social media. Everybody hides behind Article 19, and in fact, I'm quite sure there'll be some questions on that also. Now, Article 19 does not give you a right to put up fake news. It doesn't give you a right to defame a person. It doesn't give you a right uh, to convict a person even before the trial commences, even before the evidence is. If you'll remember, there's another famous case of those Talwars of their daughter who was found dead. Now, what happened in that case was almost all the evidence was destroyed. Why? Because our great media cameramen and our great media reporters were inside the house even before the police reached there. So they destroyed the entire evidence. They were trampling around over the entire house. So this is the damage this causes. This call it insatiable desire of social media to consume all sorts of sensational news, and criminal cases are definitely sensational. But then, like it's always, we end up always saying that please avoid it because judges get influenced. Let me assure you, judges don't get influenced. It's the people who get influenced. And if judges were to be influenced, all we need to have is have a poll and have one guilty and one not guilty. I won't have to write a judgment. Why would a judge have to write 100 pages? So you have a poll, yes, guilty, no, not guilty, and then that's all. So this is what is happening in social media. But at the same time, I don't say that you need to prohibit anything. This is a democratic process. It's the right of everybody, but you must exercise some sort of self-restraint and also be conscious of the fact. I hope many of you would have or should read the judgment in Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India on the privacy law. If not, I'd request some of your teachers to take that out and circulate it to at least the sixth semester or students. It's a judgment on privacy and how these social media posts will violate your right of privacy. I have a right to sit in my house and not be disturbed by anybody by writing things about me. It's me and me alone who has to be concerned. But what happens is there'll be stories, there'll be posts. So are you not violating my privacy? And then there are these, I'm not going into the CRPC or the protection provided by Article 21 of the Constitution or 19(1), 2 and 57 and 76 of the CRPC. But the question is, where are we leading ourselves to by such posts and by such discussions on social media by ill-informed, illiterate, apologies for illiterate, semi-literate anchors and people who have absolute no understanding of what is evidence and what is not evidence, who don't even know the spelling of the Evidence Act, who have never heard of something called the Code of Criminal Procedure, pronouncing judgment. Is that what you all want? And since let me say it, make it a little lighter, that since I belong to the generation who may have messed up everything, but at least you people should get it right. We are that generation who you all said did nothing. For the last so many decades, nothing was done. So let's see, the jury is out on what your generation is going to do. How are you going to tear up each other? How are you going to pull out each other's hair? You have this beautiful platform called social media. But please don't misuse it and do not use it to abuse each other. Use it to forward your agendas. And there's a method of, I have a policy on Twitter. Whoever follows me or whoever I follow, I send a small note to him that, see, you're welcome to disagree with me. And that's the basic tenet of this platform. But please don't abuse me, and I will not abuse you. So let's be civil in our discussion, civil in our discourse. Disagreement is the basis of democracy. Protest is the basis of a robust democracy. We cannot have a democracy without a difference of opinion. But that difference of opinion is what is being reflected on social media is not a difference of opinion. It's a difference of agendas. And if difference of agendas becomes our difference of opinion, I'm sorry, forget social media, forget courts, you will have no democracy in this country tomorrow. So when you talk about difference, when you talk about social media, when you talk about courts, when you talk about law, what will be under attack is democracy. The right for you to go to school comes from the Constitution of India. The right for you to go to college again flows from the Constitution of India. The right to have a different opinion even from your lecturer or your professor. We don't live in a world where what I say is the truth. I can be entirely wrong, but you have the right to differ from me, and I'll defend your right to differ from me. And I will rather that you differ from me, then I will know that you are trying to understand me at least. But we can't have the discipline. In the name of discipline, we can't say, no, you cannot have a different opinion. That, with due respect, is not the essence of democracy, nor is it the essence of Article 21, nor is it the essence of the Constitution of India. With these few words, I think let's open it up quickly to any questions that everybody has. And then I have to get back to doing something else. So I'm offering this to anybody who has any questions. Please take it away from here now.
Thank you so much, sir. The session is now open for questions. Anybody who has any questions, please put them in the chat box. And okay, so Navya, please put your question in the chat box.
Devika, shouldn't may ask question directly with sir?
You can ask directly.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir, no problem. Navya, please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, sir. It's a pleasure to attend your webinar. So my question is that isn't access to the social media of any person a violation of his privacy? I mean, how is it any different from wiretapping a device without permission?
If I understand what you are saying is that somebody accesses your account without your permission, whether it's your WhatsApp account or your Twitter account, absolutely, it's an offense. It's not even a question of privacy. Nobody can do it except in accordance with law. And you can also refuse to give information. You can refuse to hand over your social media handle, but then let me not use the word government, but the powers to be have different ways. You today only read again about Pegasus back in the news again. So it is not permissible. It's your space. It's you who have created that space. It's your comment, and it's not in public domain till you don't allow it to come into public domain. The difficulty is we do not read the privacy policies. That's how we fall into this trap. We just quickly, when we download an app, we quickly say yes, 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 agree, 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 agree. You don't know what you're actually opening yourself up to. So let's take the next question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anushka has a question.
Yes.
It says victim blaming has sadly become common on social media, which leads to some very unfortunate events. Do you think there should be a law to curb this?
There already is a law to curb all this, but unfortunately, nobody wants to put his foot into the because he's also accused of censorship then, or he'll be accused of saying you're siding with so and so. So nobody is actually it's time everybody stood up to this. Now in your college or in your class, if somebody accuses somebody, you all stand up for that person, don't you? There is a call it uh, something between class fellows where you all stand up for each other. Over the last 2 years, I'm quite sure it's not happening because you don't meet each other anymore. And but it's time for people to stand up. It's time for people to question. What is unfortunately happening is we've stopped questioning. Moment we question, we receive 20 posts which may not be very palatable to you as a person. If it's a girl, there'll be posts will be even worse. And I think everybody says, okay, forget it. मैं तो नहीं पूछता. मैं किस लिए पूछूं? फालतू में मैं क्यों करूं? But somewhere something has to happen. Somewhere something has to start. So this is what I have to say. And all the best to all of you for that, at least. Next question.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have a question from Joshi. Does the software developed by the Israeli company known as Pegasus lead to violation of right to privacy guaranteed under Article 21?
You see, I mean, I don't want to say it. The matter is before the Supreme Court also, and it's in public domain today also. But well, yes, if without, it's just hypothetical. Okay, if without permission you send malware into my phone or my computer, or you send a program which is able to access what I am talking about, or what is my social media post, of course it would be. But then the question is better left to the courts. And unfortunately, we have no debate on that. In any channel or any social media, there's no debate on that. That's another question you all need to ask yourselves. You very easily ask this question over here, but how many of you will put it up on Twitter today? Not many. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Yes, sir. Aditya Raj, if you want to ask any question, you may please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, as you were just talking about the difference of opinion and media trials. So my question is that difference of opinions has unfortunately evolved into media trials and is currently starting to evolve into the social media trials as we know it currently. Sir, don't you think that this provokes people to decide the guilt of the suspect? And there's a very major reason that he's called a suspect. People are deciding him accused already even before the trial started in the court that he's a suspect, and we see it even more prevalent in the cases of heinous crimes such as rape, in which it is already very difficult for the person to prove whether he's innocent or he's at guilt. The courts are already under a lot of pressure. Don't you think, sir, this will create a havoc in the judicial system, or this is somewhat affecting the judicial system? And sir, one last thing, that shouldn't our laws be evolving much? So our IT Act is there. Don't you think it should evolve a bit to cater these kind of situations that are we are now facing nowadays?
You partly answered the question yourself in the first part. Your question is actually in the second part. An accused is an accused till the judge doesn't pronounce him guilty. And till that time, no person has the right. No person, let me say no person, whether on social media or whether on the television channel to pronounce him guilty. And therefore, I've been warning at many forums that you're going to have a new sort of litigation, and it's already started. You've already seen many politicians, when somebody says कि flan flan chor hai, they are immediately filing defamation cases. Because in some states, defamation is a criminal offense. In some states, it's not. So what they do is they choose a state where it's a criminal offense, and you are summoned, say, in the other corner of the country where you will go to have to attend a trial. And summoning is one of the most easiest things for a court. You will understand when you become a lawyer and if you practice in the trial courts. But yes, we must avoid this. Everybody has a reputation. And if you look at the record of our criminal courts, there are more acquittals than there are convictions. Why? Acquittals are not because the man is innocent. Innocence is something which is very different from proving his guilt. Innocence is generally declared, he's declared innocence because there's no sufficient evidence. Because court must move on evidence. Now, if there is, there is evidence. Let's take an example, and I'll give you an example in an illustration. A person is seen entering a building, and then a friend of his who lives in the building is found murdered. Would you put the dots together and convict him? Or would you say there's not sufficient evidence? There is a provision in the Evidence Act which can convict him also. Provided you got to make him reach the door of his friend. You got to make him enter the room. And then once you prove that he's entered the room, then it is for him to prove, because there are only two people in that room. Then it's for him to prove what happened there. Owner's shifts. Read section 107 of the 6 of the Evidence Act and 114, 115 presumptions. So what happens is, what the investigation or the prosecutor fails, they fail to make the man to give evidence of his even reaching that floor or reaching that room. So if he's not reached that room, you cannot call upon him to say, please prove what happened inside. This is a reverse onus. I'm giving you an example in that way. Similarly, if there are two people inside a room and one person is seen coming out of the room, and eventually after 15 minutes is found the third person is dead inside. So what will happen? Will you convict him? First, you'll have to rule out that there was nobody else there. Now, how will you rule that out? So there are so many things. And if you're able to rule out that there was nobody else there, then yes, he will have to prove what happened inside. How was that man shot, or how did he get the injuries? How did he die? What happened? Sometimes it may be he just walked out and the man had an heart attack. I mean, that's a possibility. So many people die. About 30% of deaths in this country or in the world take place because of heart attacks. So can we rule out those possibilities? Now, this is what lawyers are all about. This is how a lawyer's brain will work. But the TRP man's brain works in the other way. So he will say that there was somebody in the opposite building who saw him. Now, who is this somebody? Nobody knows. Then he will say he was seen coming down the staircase. Who has seen him? Nobody knows. So one of these days, I think a clever prosecution lawyer is going to get one of these anchors to come as a witness. And then you'll have, then that's the only way they'll stop. Because otherwise, it's impossible to prove all these things. So I think I've answered your question. But yes, we don't need too many laws. We need sensible people. Laws will always prohibit you. And once they start prohibiting you, then they keep moving one step at a time, till they reach your house. And that's the time you'll say, my God, this law should never have been enacted. It's only when we are faced with this problem that we begin to realize why we should not support draconian laws, we should not support interference in our rights, and we should protect our rights. Okay, any other questions? Sorry, I think I've given a big enough lecture now.
Yes, sir. There's a question from Kunal.
Yes,
Kunal, please
Kunal.
unmute yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is these days a very sensitive proceeding is going on in Delhi High Court, that is on marital rape. And we can see in the recent reports that even the appearing counsel are being trolled and mocked publicly for their arguments. So what's your suggestion to the lawyers or interns who are suffering with this? Because it affects anybody's mental health, and don't you think that it directly or indirectly affect any judicial proceeding?
See, in my opinion, leave the judicial proceedings out for the time being. That the judge will deal with it himself. If you have anybody who's interning with them, none of this thing reaches the court. Nobody argues like this in court. Even the worst counsel will not make the comments which are being made today. Correct? I hope we have somebody who's attending those hearings. Now, the question of marital rape. First of all, I just don't understand how this has become a public domain issue. This is something which is very personal to a person. Offenses against the body are now, for fear of being trolled. Should I not give my opinion today? I think I should. It's very clear. The question, I would actually divide it into two compartments. I'm not please arguing the case. So I would divide it into two compartments. One is marital. Yes, the person, if he's done something which is physically wrong with a woman, it's the marriage which gave him the opportunity to do so. And therefore, a woman, whether in marriage or outside marriage, has the right to say no. If we concede that much to a woman, then whether you're married or you're not married makes no difference, in my opinion. Marriage cannot sanctify an act of brutality. Simple. Somebody can misuse it. That's another aspect. But we can't start by accusing the person of misuse. That is what is happening. People call, gold diggers, looking for money, looking for some other thing. She wants to get rid of her husband. She has a boyfriend. She's living with so and so. So what? That's her personal lookout. Who are you to comment on all that? I'm sorry, I have very, very strong opinions on personal liberties and the right of any person, whether a man or a woman, to decide what is his or what are his views on his own physical self. No government, this is my emphatic opinion, and tomorrow you can get me trolled by any amount of people you like. No person will tell me, and I'm saying, using these words, no person will tell me how I have to live my life. It's very simple. I do not tell anybody what is his sexual preference. I do not tell anybody who to go and marry, who to live with, and I expect the same liberty for me. For me, I don't use the word me as a symbol of me, but as a person. What right does anybody have to tell me what I should do and what I should not do? You can tell me if I'm wrong, but nobody says you're wrong. Everybody says you are this, you are that, you are that, you are this. Now look at the LGBT community. That's another issue which divides the country, and divides actually over the last 6 years. The divisions are getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Same thing is happening in almost all Western countries where they are ruled by a particular type of ideology. So this is, and I don't mind all this actually. Please do not understand as if I'm opposed to all these comments. No, it's good these comments come out so that if there's something wrong with the thinking of the other side, they can also rectify. It's not necessarily that they are 100% correct. There's always a viewpoint. There's always a viewpoint on the other side. Now, see, look at America. The Supreme Court is almost on the verge of striking down Roe versus Wade. You would probably understand all that. At least the professors and lecturers are on the verge of striking it down. That's the right of a woman to seek abortion. So imagine the most liberal country is going to have people running off to Mexico to get abortions. So, I mean, where are we going? This is what I'm sorry, I digressed from that question, but I thought this is very important to put my opinion in perspective. It's not as if I am a firebrand activist or something, or that I will go and I join protests and मैं नारे लगाता हूँ या कोई ऐसी चीज नहीं है. But there are certain principles I live with and I've lived with, that a person's person is his own, and I will not interfere in his preferences of anything. And marital rape, well, with due respect to all those people who make all these sort of comments, it's for the court to decide. And these comments only add more to what also happens is these comments will make these things go underground, and we'll be back to the good old ages where a lady was only expected to cook chapatis and make tea and nothing more. Okay, next question. Sorry. Any other?
Yes, sir. Next we have Kushagra. Please unmute yourself.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
So I have a very, let's say, a journal question which might be everybody is facing right now. Like every new law or every case we observe, like marital rape you mentioned, sees a lot of discussion online, and everyone wishes to give their 2 cents about it. So do you think it influx of discussions hinder the investigation and misguides the public? It's not just the courts who are being questioned, like they are being misguided. It was a perception of people, but it's now about the public. Like we as a student misguide again. I must say sometimes get misguided by these kind of statements, that whether this individual is saying something and this individual is saying something. So amongst both of them, who is the right one? So
Okay.
who should we trust upon?
Okay, you are all educated people. You have the same brain as I have. You have the same capacity to analyze as I have. And all of you sitting here today have the same capacity. And like I said, you must have heard me saying, the more the discussion, the more the noise, it's important to hear the noise also. Maybe they are right, that noise is right. Why do I have the right to say that your noise is wrong and my noise is right? Do I have that right? I don't. So let them say, any law comes, you can understand. Sometimes it takes about 20 years for a court to even set aside a law. Why? Because this is a process of experience. It's a process of how you implement the law. It's not just a very simple process that the law comes, so everybody falls in line. You see, a law comes, most of us step out of line. And it's only later when we are in trouble that we say, oh my God, I didn't realize this is the line. This is the law I should have abided. So that's how it happens. And I personally feel that this discussion has to continue. It may hurt us. It may be good. It may be indifferent. But you've got to remember, the person opposing it is also equally hurt by what I am saying. So there's always two sides to a debate. And if there is no debate, then it's the silence of the grave, with due respect to anybody who may say, no, I'm targeting the Christian community by using that word. But it's the of the grave. Then if there's no discussion, there has to be a discussion. And I am one who will welcome discussion of any type anywhere. So there should be a discussion. But yes, the discourse has to be civil. That is important. It can't be starting with an abuse and ending with an abuse, and in between only abusing and abusing and abusing. That has to be avoided. But then we are all guilty of that. These people who are online are what? Our children. They are not, they haven't picked up this way of talking from, somebody's not injected them with some poison. We are responsible. So let's not be holier than thou and say, no, they are this, they are that. They are as much Indians as you and I are. They are also entitled to their opinion. You may say you're right and you're wrong, but this debate has to continue. The only thing is the discourse should be civil. Next question.
So sorry to interrupt,
Thank you,
but
sir. Next question.
Yes, you wanted to say something.
Sorry, Devika, to interrupt you. Sir, as you mentioned that it should be a healthy discussion rather than going to abuse someone or let's say defaming someone virtually. But what we have observed recently, as like while going through various internships virtually or working with NGOs, we have observed that the people have shifted their agenda from being the healthy discussion to more of a political discussion, as like they divide themselves between the political parties, and then the discussion goes to, you know, a worse situation which was not expected. So
Yes,
that's why we feel that there should be something.
It suits politicians of the left. It suits politicians of the right. It suits politicians of the center to divide. So now the question is, I am not here to answer these questions as such. I am not even here to explain to you what is right or wrong. And like I said, you are all educated people. You are welcome to take whatever side you want to. But I used a word, I didn't say healthy discussion. No discussion can be healthy. It can only be civil. It is going to be, it is going to affect somebody's health because somebody is going to disagree. And we all cannot, we don't have the same system of how to deal with disagreement. What should be taught to people in schools and colleges is how to deal with disagreement. We are not taught that. We are taught that how to make other people agree to your point of view. Therefore, we begin shouting, screaming, abusing. We are not taught how to disagree. And for that, I think you all, everybody should every morning read the opening words of the Constitution. That little paragraph, beautiful paragraph called We the People. All castes, all creeds, everything. So that is one paragraph nobody bothers to read. In fact, I was traveling once to the airport in Bombay, and my taxi driver was a Muslim, and it was the peak of the CAA protests. So he told me, you see, we are all listening to all this, but nobody ever told us about all this, about this We the People. Nobody told us that we get our rights from here. I said, then please, like you read your namaz every day, or like you do your puja every morning, read this little stanza every day, and your mind will be set at rest. I'm sorry, I think I can recommend that for the college at least. Every morning you should start with We the People. That is the most profound statement, at least I found in any constitution or any law. And but yes, agendas will be there, divisions will be there. Something which is beyond me is your generation, which has to deal with the next. What's coming is your generation has to deal with it. My time is dried and dusted, and you people have to deal with it. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. We have a question from Olga.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Firstly, this was a very insightful session. Plus, your progressive thoughts about the surging issues is really nice. So, I have a question, sir. There was a statement by a law minister that this sinister trend of campaigning for the judgments on social media, and which leaves, like, we have talked about censorship, we've talked about Article 19 and 21. So, where is this line of censorship drawn to the posts on social media? Like, who controls it? And what is against the law? What should I post? What is my right of expression? So, where is this line of censorship drawn? And
The line is in the laws. Please read the laws. And that is the IT Act, the defamation. Please read all of them. But actually, left to me personally, like you said, I am a anti-censorship person. Because what you do is, if you censor something, you send it underground. Anything. You censor a book, it starts circulating underground. You censor a poem, it starts circulating underground. You ban a song, it starts circulating underground. And then people get more attracted to it. And nobody is ready to ask a question. So this is my personal view, but please go and read the laws on defamation. Read the IT Act and all this. And whenever somebody abuses you on social media, there's a small thing. And all you can tell them is, please no abusing, otherwise I'll block you. And block the person. You have the right. Don't leave social media. It's very important, but block the person, whoever it is. You'll have to read the law. There's nothing else.
oh, so thank you so much, sir.
Anybody else?
So we have a question from Aryaman.
Avya. Who's the question from?
Avya has been answered. Aryaman, do you wish to put your question? Okay, so I don't think he's able to unmute his mic. Next, we have Ankur.
A very good afternoon, sir.
Teri bari aa gayi, he says.
Sir, actually, I'm doing my mood problem in the side.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Oh,
really sorry for that.
By now, you could have understood who I am and what I am. So don't worry.
Yes, sir. I was keenly listening to you in the background, sir.
So nice. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So my question is, as per a recent story covered by the media, where an advocate wished happy birthday to a female judge, and he had to suffer a jail time for it, isn't such act too extreme?
It is the method of, you see, the question is, I think it was midnight. It wasn't in midnight. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, sir.
So won't you think that's an invasion of anybody's privacy also, when you don't even know the person?
Sir, it is, but it is just a sweet gesture to wish. It is a norm that we wish in the midnight. That's
really okay. As a judge, nobody wished me at midnight.
So surely I'll wish you on your birthday.
I'm retired now. You can wish me every day.
Sure, sir.
I'm now retired, and I'd be only happy if you wish me every day. And any questions any of you has on any legal point, please feel free to get in touch on anything. But yes, maybe the judge should have reacted in a slightly different way. And she could have just said, thank you very much, but please don't repeat it again. That's another thing. It's an individual thing. This is something individual. You never know. If she had said that, tomorrow he may have posted all that everywhere. And then what would you have said? Okay, look, this judge, what would you have said then? You can imagine what would have happened to the lady judge.
Yes, sir. We should see both the sides of the coin before judging anyone.
So that's what I'm trying to. In fact, most of the time when I speak, this is one very, very important part which I take everybody to. That you are nobody to judge right and wrong. You have to listen to everybody and then judge. You can't just off the cuff say this is wrong, that is wrong. Okay, everybody has a point of view. You never know. So democracy, sir, is the creed by which we live. Democracy is the reason why you're sitting here and listening to me. Democracy is the reason why you will become a lawyer. And defense of rights of the poor are very important, but wish you defense of right of the rich also, because they are the ones who will give you the money when you become a lawyer. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is all important. Anyway, next question. Anybody else, or can we?
Next, we have Sir Karthik.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, my question is, our government says to wear mask and maintain social distancing, but our Prime Minister and his cabinet is doing rallies for upcoming UP election. It is the principle of natural justice that no one can judge a case in which they can have an interest of their own. Do you think the Supreme Court should interfere in this case as they contradict their own statement?
You mean, why should the Supreme Court interfere? Go and file a complaint, criminal complaint against them? Why should the Supreme Court interfere in everything? Okay, understood. But the healthy example is from United Kingdom. I hope you read the news today and at night. Please go and read that report which that civil servant, who is equal to an IAS officer, has given against the Prime Minister of England. I will not discuss our Prime Minister or our political system, but during COVID, they had parties in the Prime Minister's residence. So he's been indicted today for that by a civil servant equal to a Secretary of the Government of India. But he's still refusing to resign. So let's see what happens. See, politics is the art of pushing the envelope to the possible and then saying that this is the impossible. So that's the way it is. And this mask mandate, again, there are many views on it. So let's see what happens eventually. Go and file a complaint to the magistrate that he is putting at risk the health of so many citizens of this country. But see, tomorrow now, if somebody is to report this, he will say that Justice Rajiv Bhalla says, please go and file a complaint. Isn't it? This is the way, that is what social media is. And in private, I can tell you a story. I won't tell you a story right now on this, how media misuses things. Anyway, comments. Any other question?
No, sir, I think that's all. Thank you so much for such an enlightening session and answering all our queries. Now, I would like to invite Yadav sir to present the vote of thanks.
Our respected chief guest of this program, Mr. Rajiv Bhalla sir, my dear colleagues and my dear student. Rajiv Bhalla sir has given very straightforward answer and very, sharp answer to you. And really, I just appreciate him for giving so direct answer to all of you. The student has raised so many important questions in front of sir, and sir has answered all the question in very, excellent way to satisfy all the students. Really, it was very good, session. It was very interactive session, and everybody was involved in it. So today's topic was the impact of social media on criminal law. As you know that social media is an internet-based form of communication. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, WhatsApp. These are the various kinds of social media we are having. And here, as you know, that media is a fourth pillar of the democracy. So it's very, very important that media should play their role in very honest way to highlight the problems and demerits and lacuna of the society in front of everyone. There is one problem with the legislative system that everywhere we are having lack of awareness. So this is number one. Number two is there, we have overloaded laws. We have so many laws which is not required. The important thing is this, ki how we are doing implementation. This is very, very important. So we are lacking implementation of laws everywhere. Secondly, in India, very few percent of people, they are knowing how to handle the social media. This is also a lacking of awareness. We always, all of us, we are using Facebook or WhatsApp, but very few of us know how to use it safely in order to make ourselves safe from this misuse of this, media handles. So awareness is very, very important for, especially for the college or university student or for all other citizens. So they should know it the right use of the social media. Otherwise, the social media is the bone of the society nowadays. We can understand due to the Corona COVID-19 situation, the entire system based on this technology. So before this Corona 19, COVID-19, all school colleges has banned mobile phone inside the campus. But this time all the colleges and university are inside the mobile, technology. So this is the thing. But one question is still standing in front of us.
Small intervention.
Yes.
Even the codes are inside my phone and laptop.
Yes, yes. Now courts is also accepting the evidence and everything. Even virtual mode of hearing is also started on this technology. That's good. But one question always standing in front of us is how this problem will be resolved, how there will be improvement in the law, who will come forward. As per constitution, this duty has been given to the legislature assembly. But as per our past experience, we have seen it, it's very rare that any laws passed properly in the favor of the citizens or in the favor of president or anyone. There will always loopholes. Recently, I would like to give one example that there was a bill pending in the parliament, which is the increasement of the marriageable age of the women. So there is the hot discussion on that bill. Every college and university is doing hot discussion on that. But I don't understand what is the need of increasing the age of the women over there. Why don't government make it? Achha, one survey says that 23% of girls are the victims of the child marriage, and 65% of the young girls, they are doing marriage on the basis of love marriage और वो भाग के शादी कर लेते हैं. तो फिर एज बढ़ाने की जरूरत कहाँ है? तो एज बढ़ाने की जरूरत तो सिर्फ 23% लोगों की है जो they are doing child marriage. So these laws will affect the entire society. ठीक है, कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि ठीक है 18 years is the age where we are getting the license for getting vote to select the government or to do other works. Okay, it's all right. But who says that you will do marriage on 18? It's on your desire that you can do your marriage on 25 years or 30 years like that. And one recent survey has said that most of the youngers, they are doing marriage at the age of 29 to 30 years after settling their career. So I mean to say, who will come forward to make recommendation in the bill? We can't expect from the legislature that they will make this any bill in the welfare of the people, but they will do it on the political interest. That is another thing. Now we are expecting from the judges of the high courts and supreme courts that they will come forward and they will take very strict, steps toward these laws. So we are expecting from the judges and high courts and supreme courts. And after this, I can say all the students that we teachers and students are on the above of all this system. We should come forward to interpret the judgment of the judges, try to find out the new horizon of the laws, and we should spread awareness in the society. Then we will be able to make any change in the society, I believe. So Rajiv Bhallai ji has given very excellent direction for us. So I'm very, very thankful to sir as well. I'm very thankful to my colleagues, teachers who have organized this program. And really, I give congratulations for all my students, those who have asked questions. And I request all the students that always try to ask questions, burning questions. You take burning issues in front of the a resource person like the Rajiv Bhallaji, and we will try to get our queries from him. Thank you very much to all of you.
Is it all right? Can I leave?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes,
Thank you so much. That's it. We have come
Okay,
to the
thank
end
you.
of the session.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much.
everybody, for listening to me. And in case I've offended anybody, any comments, please don't troll me.
No, sir. No, sir.
Because
Don't
then
worry about that.
I'll troll you all right back.
That we know, sir. That we
Thank
know.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Stay safe and have a good day. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.